Welcome to Meet Menaca, celebrating you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A very warm welcome, and I wish you all a very happy new year filled with joy, peace, and love. And today, we are going to start speaking about resilience for the entire month. And the first episode, the 23rd episode of Meet Menaca, is going to be about resilience learned. I am going to be the speaker, and Julie will be the host. Just to give a background about Julie, she is a reputation certified coach. She helps from executives to everyone, not only survive, but thrive. She has worked in many corporate backgrounds for more than a couple of decades, particularly in the US for many years. And now she is a certified coach and she's helping the entrepreneurs do the same. Over to you, Julie.
Thank you, Menaca. I'm excited to be your host and I am honored to be invited to do that. So thank you for having me. Happy New Year to everyone. Before we get started, I feel compelled to share with you how I met Menika. And that was during an entrepreneurial networking opportunity. We met literally in an environment like this, and we connected straight away. We shared many ideas, values, and views. And I'm just thrilled to know Asia's answer to Oprah Winfrey. One of the reasons I love sharing time with Menika is because she lives her values, this environment that we're talking in right now that supports women's empowerment, thriving, surviving, and living in a positive way, being authentic and living your values. This is Menika. This is who Menika is. So it's a very exciting, thriving environment to be part of. Menika is a leadership coach and author, and she's a heart leader. She leads with her heart. And today we are going to be talking about resilience. It has been a challenging year for many of us, and those challenges aren't over yet. And so this is a great time to focus this month on resilience. So over the next few minutes, we're going to be going through for about 30 minutes, a Q&A between Menika and I. And then afterwards, there'll be an opportunity for those who are part of the Zoom session to actually enter into a private Q&A session with our speaker. So let's get going. Menika, let's talk about resilience a little bit. We've perhaps maybe developed it without realizing it, but how would you define resilience?
First of all, thank you so much for your kind and generous introduction there. Yes, resilience is, in the dictionary terms, it is coming back to its original form after being deformed. And I think in psychological or emotional aspect, it is after we go through a challenge or setback to come back to the pre-challenged position. But I think going through many difficulties and challenges and having failures, what I have also learned is if you have the right tools, you could even do better. I think sometimes going through those challenges and difficulties teach you so much. You start, stepping up even better than what you were prior to those challenges. That's my own experience.
Can you tell us give us an example of how you've developed your resilience?
Okay.
Menika.
Though I came from a war-torn zone and had my own difficulties, I had migration, had difficulties with language barriers. However, my mom is on the platform today, and I come from a very stable, very protected family. I am one of those kids who didn't even know how to go to the bank and deposit a check or go to a bookshop and buy a book, which I never ever did till I left the country almost. So it was a very protected environment in that aspect, in the family aspect. So I guess I didn't even know the tools which I didn't have in a way. But also I think on another way, I think just because you are resilient in a war zone or you're resilient because you didn't have the language and you can learn, or you're resilient because you can adapt to a new environment. It doesn't mean you're resilient to everything else in life. So, but many years later, after a couple of decades after that, then I realized certain things threw me off balance. And that's when I really understood I didn't have all the tools. Because I think when you go through difficulties, particularly, and having challenges and coming through them, you kind of take life for granted. You almost think you can win anything, and you start putting more and more pressure on yourself because you think you are this person, you can handle anything. You're almost non-stop. You can just handle anything. And people around you start expecting the same because they think, okay, you're always smiling, you're always thriving, you're always being successful. So, let's put another piece into the puzzle. Let's put into the puzzle. And then I think at one point, one small trigger hits you. And then, that's it. For me particularly, personally, it just threw me off balance. And that's when I understood I didn't have all the tools. And just because I could survive something else, it doesn't mean I'm going to survive, different things. So I think that was a big awakening for me. And I think even for my immediate family, it was a surprise and a shock in a way. When I had mental health difficulties, and which is no secret anymore, because I keep speaking about it all the time, I think even my very close family and friends couldn't understand. People have, even today, after many years now, even today, people ask me, we can't still understand, we can't still accept that you had this problem. How can you? Because you're so strong. And I think that is why I speak about it, because it's very important for everybody else to understand it can happen to anyone and anytime and under any circumstances. So I think we have to go into things with eyes wide open.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point. You talk about some of the assumptions there that people make about resilience. What do you think are some of the big common assumptions people make?
Okay, the assumptions wise, I think people think if you have, as I mentioned before, if you have survived something, people make assumptions that you are strong, you will never have difficulties later on in life, or you will never have difficulties under different circumstances. That's one thing. And I think there's an assumption that with age, or particularly if you have come from a certain background, that, we all survived. We all survived war. We all survived this. We all survived migration. So what is the big deal, particularly for kids, the second generation kids who are born and brought up here? I think that's a lot of pressure because we think we have survived so much, and how can they not survive just going to school and coming back and study? That's all they have to do. And we had to deal with so much more. And what is the big fuss about? And I think that kind of puts a lot of different pressure. And I think even as a woman, I can tell it does put a lot of pressure. There are assumptions because you want to be the trophy mom. You want to be successful business leader. You want to be, great professional, and you want to be everything, everything to everyone. And there's an assumption that because, my mother was a great mother. She was a role model mother. Unfortunately, I can't measure up to that because I still have other things to, put it in the balance. I have told this many times very openly because I still have to pay my bills. And I still have to go to work. And, so everyone does their best in their own capacity, however they know. I think in the training all these years, the one thing if I have learned is everyone does their best with all the resources they have. I think that was the biggest learning I have. And I think people forget it, and a lot of assumptions. If it is a woman, you have to be like that. You can be doing this. People always multitask. It's okay. I think, and also certain professions as well, particularly healthcare profession. I'm a dentist, so I know you always expected to smile. You're always expected to do well. You're always expected not to fail. But I think these things really put a lot of pressure. And I think resilience is a good thing to have. Of course, we all need it, and we all should strive to get that, all the tools and strategies, whatever we can. However, we also have to accept not everyone can be resilient at all the time, and it's okay not to be okay sometimes.
I agree with that point 100%. I think last year we probably all learned that it's okay not to be okay all of the time. Yeah, it's a very good point. When you talk about being a superwoman, doing all things and being all things to all people, we tend to spread ourselves. We can spread ourselves quite thin in doing that. And it means we are, as women, we are good multitaskers. It's hard to build resilience in all of those different areas, but how do we know when we've built resilience? What are the signs of that?
Okay, so we don't have to go that far back because we have just finished our 2020. So we are still there in that zone, I guess, in a way. And at least in London, we are still in the, tier 4, most of us, and we are going through it still. So I think we feel overwhelmed. We can't sleep well. We feel we have to do all that, particularly being the superwoman we all strive to be, or superwoman or superman. I'm very conscious that not everything is we are only just women doing. Men have their own difficulties, own struggles, own expectations from the society, right? Men don't cry, boys don't cry. That they have a different kind of problem. Yeah. So I think for me, when you have built up the resilience is when life always throws curveballs at you. It could be a financial difficulty, it could be relationship problems, it could be somebody you close to you, you have to grieve, you have lost them, or you have some health issues you have to deal with. Look around you. Every single person on this platform today, or if you're on the Facebook, you all have gone through something, or you know someone who has gone through it. But when those things don't affect you permanently, we all go through emotions. We feel sad. I think it's very normal to feel, sad, happy, angry. I think they're protective to an extent. But when they don't change your life for good, and you don't expect that you will never be the same person again, even that is perhaps not the truth. You will never be the same person, but you will become a better person, or will become a different version of that person with the different tools. I think when you know that, and I think the first point you need to know is you are aware that is happening to you, and you are happy with it. You are happy to accept it is happening to you, and you're okay with it. And I think the best advice I got is it's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel sad. And I think when you know that you are experiencing these things, and you know that you're okay with these things, and I think that's when you know your resilience. This is only my personal learning. And I know there are a lot of psychologists, psychiatrists on the platform today. It will be interesting to listen to them and see what they think. But this is my own personal experience.
Well, let's capture that very moment then. When you are, say you are a person who is in a difficult situation, whatever it is, what do you say to yourself? How do you start with that first layer of resilience? What do you, Menika, say to yourself in that situation?
Okay, so it doesn't mean I don't get thrown out even now. I'm still work in progress. I guess we are all work in progress. But however, what I do know now is when I'm out of balance, when something is upsetting me, I do now know that, okay, this particular person, what they said or what they did or something I lost or some problem I had, this is affecting me. I think that's the first point, right? At least I'm aware of it. And okay, and I think now I have come to the position or conclusion, it's okay to sulk for a while. So I now have these, moments. Okay, fine. It's okay to binge watch Netflix for a couple of days. It's okay to go and have a hot bath and not do my work. Not do my work.
Self-care.
and or be on the phone with Kirubai, for example, or with my mom sulking and speaking about it. That's okay. I think that is the first layer for me, just knowing it.
At awareness.
Because before I was surprised, firstly, that it cannot be happening to me. Secondly, I didn't even want to accept it. The moment it happened, I just wanted to distract myself. I just wanted to party harder. I wanted to work harder, and I wanted to pretend it never happened. And I think that was the problem before with me.
Let me interrupt you there for a minute. Is that because you felt you had to be brave, or what made you think you just had to keep going and ignore it?
I think there was expectation with people around me at the time, but it was also me wanting to be the superwoman. And it was easier. I think the best answer I could give to you is that it was so much easier to pretend everything was okay. And so that I didn't have to answer any questions. I didn't have to face anyone. I didn't have to explain to anyone. So anytime I had problems, I worked harder. I worked long hours. I smiled broader, and I partied harder. So, so nobody could even guess, I guess, in a way. People, unless until people were very close, they couldn't even guess that what I was going through for many, many years. I just, and that's how it spiraled out of control.
So you kind of ignored it then and just soldiered on.
Yes, true.
Yeah, that catches up with you after a while, doesn't it?
It definitely does. And when it catches up big time. And anyone who has gone through anything like this, they know, it really ruins you. So I think the reason I speak about all these things on my platform or anyone else's platform openly, and I wrote my book and published my book, all this is only for one reason. I really don't want to witness anybody else going through something like this. There's no need for it.
Yeah.
And I think, and, as I said, it's okay not to be okay, but, you have to learn that you are the primarily important person, because we have this problem. We want to, I'm still get back into those routines. And if you ask my close friends, they would still say to me, it's very easy to slip back. But now what I do have is very close friends, the support system around me who can pick up on it and say, come on, today you have to, that's it, enough, done. You have to sign off and just go and do something else. You can't work any longer, or you need a break. You have to dedicate this to somebody else. Which that kind of support system, unfortunately, I didn't have. I didn't even know the value of it. Why I should have at that time.
Do you think that is key to when you feel that you've built your resilience? Because I'm imagining it as something that we layer, we learn and develop. Is that right? Yeah. So when you've built it and then something catches you kind of from left field that you didn't expect, what do you do then? And you kind of, what you might think, oh, well, I thought I had that worked out. How do you handle that? What do you do?
Absolutely, Julie. It's a wonderful question, but at least for me, because some aspects in my life, I felt that I have dealt with it. I'm all right with it. I'm okay with it. I'm done with it. Then something else happens, or someone else says something, or someone, there are always people to say different things. Everybody's entitled to their own view, and then it's something throws you off balance, and then you suddenly realize, there's another layer to it, which I didn't know. Or, there's another layer which I haven't dealt with actually. Because end of the day, I think Viktor Frankl says it's best, when you can't control the situation, the only thing you can control is the way you respond to the way you think, the way you deal with it, right? So then you suddenly think, okay, fine. So if this person is saying something or doing something and that's irritating you, or that's upsetting you, or that's making you want to sulk, what is it in you that you haven't still dealt with? And I think that is a very important thing to know. And I think it's a layer deeper, like you beautifully said. It's like an onion peel layer, right? Sometimes we think we have forgiven, we think we have dealt with it, we have forgotten, we have moved past it, but suddenly we realize we are only human. We still haven't. Might be on a superficial layer. Perhaps we so want to do it. We feel we have done it, or we perhaps done it at a superficial layer, but we still haven't done it in a deeper layer. I hope that answers your question, Jill.
It does, but it takes tremendous bravery to go that deep, doesn't it?
It does. It's painful, but I think, as they say, one of my hygienists would say always, there's no pain, no gain. When I coach with people, I always tell them, if you don't want to cry, if you don't want to feel the pain, I am not the person. You have to find another coach or another mentor or another trainer, because if you are not going to face up to your fears, you're not going to face up to that you have a problem, I don't think you can ever heal, and you can never, get over it, and you can't step up and evolve from it and come to another stage. That's my understanding.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the work that we do brings about tremendous change, and it's not an easy journey sometimes. You have to take a hard look at what you've come from to get to where you want to go towards.
Yeah, that's what Maya Angelou says, isn't it? You see, always, we all see the beauty in the butterfly. We don't see what pain it has to go through to have that beauty. And I think it's, as human beings, I think if we remember that, it says it beautifully.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Tracking back to resilience, you shared some fantastic insights, and I love the personal stories because it just illustrates your journey and how you're continuing to evolve. For people watching, what would you say are the top 5 steps to really maintaining your resilience?
Okay, the first thing, I think, being aware that you have emotions, and it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to get angry. Otherwise, we would be all saints, or we would be, very wise. Unfortunately, I am not, for sure. I'm not people who are very close to me. We all face this different emotions on a daily basis. So I think it is being aware that we would face these things. And change is the only constant denominator. So we are going to always have change. Nothing is going to ever stay permanently. However, the good news is, when something bad happens, that is not permanent either. This shall also pass. There is a king and a wise man, and the wise man gives the ring and says, only if you don't have any other option, there's an inscription behind your ring, you can open it. So there's a war, and the king loses everything. And then he is about to jump off the cliff of the hill. And then he suddenly remembers. He says, okay, at least let me know what it is before I jump off the cliff. And he says, and it's written, this shall also pass. And so he says, okay, fine. So then he changes his mind. To cut the long story short, he goes back to the war and wins the battle and becomes the king again. However, the wise man comes back and whispers in his ears, can you please read that again? And he says, are you silly? Why would I read it? Because I won the war. I became a king again. What's the entire point of reading it? He said, please do it. And so he reads it. And it's again, this shall also pass. I think this is what is the biggest lesson for us, because whatever happens, we need to know that nothing is ever permanent. Whether you're in the peak or valley, it will always keep changing. And I think third thing is writing, because brain dump, whenever you are worried, just dump it in a piece of paper, write it down. And I think that has helped me a lot. And people who have been coached with me or trained with me, they know I always advocate that, because first of all, putting into the paper, you have more clarity. You know what is bothering you. And secondly, the moment you write it down, you feel better, because the brain doesn't have to, deal with that any longer. At least it's there and it's open, and you can put a structure or learn from it later on. So I think writing and journaling and, every day, what you want to achieve or what is bothering you or what good you did, everything. I think I'm a big advocate of journaling. And the fourth thing, I think, is mindfulness exercise, or some form of keeping the sanity, really. Listen to music, have a run, do exercise, do dancing, do and everything. Everyone deals with it differently. But whatever it is for you, find out what it is and please do it. But last but not the least for me is support system. Have that person who you can call up in the middle of the night and reach out and say, I can't sleep. This particular thing is really bothering me. What can I do? So you want to have people, Jim Brown says, you are the average of 5 people you surround yourself with. It's some of mine are on the platform today, so I'm not going to name them, but yeah, they are here, so they know who they are. And it is about having people who don't judge you for feeling that way. Having people who don't judge you for making mistakes, for having people to lift you up, giving you that lending the ear to listen and say, it's okay, it happens. It happens to all of us. We feel that like that sometimes as well. And, it's okay. We all make mistakes. That's all right to make mistakes. Let's get together and see how we can correct it. Let's get together and see how we can help you sort this mess out. Because when you are in the mess, the last thing you want is people to say you are in a mess. Last thing you want to say is that, how dare you manage to get into this mess? You want people to say, it's okay to be in the mess. Let me get into your mess. And so let's clear this mess and get you out of it. And I think that is the most important treasure I have learned. And that's the most important thing I have acquired over the years. And I'm very, very grateful for each one of them who are my support system. Thank you, Julie.
No, it's a very good point, Menika. It's a really good point because your support system is essential. And sometimes we just don't feel comfortable enough to reach out to people. But we can lose sight of the fact that offering help and receiving help helps to build a relationship between 2 people and just mature it. It's so important, particularly in these times.
Yes. Thanks, Julie.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So is there anything else at this point, Menika, that we should think about going forward into the new year that we should be bearing in mind, top of mind about resilience?
I think it's another year, a new beginning, which is always a blessing. We can erase whatever happened. We can cut off all the losses we have had. It's not that to forget, but to move on, move forward. And, my sincere love and prayers to all those people whose families and close people they have lost. And love and prayers to those people who are going through difficulties financially or health-wise. And I know few people personally who are having COVID-19 and suffering at this moment. So lots and lots of love and prayers to them. But however, going forward, I think we will have to learn the strategies and tools how we can become more resilient, not only personally and in a microscopic in a family environment, but as a community. The biggest takeaway, I think, for me is when you give, when you help other people, it gives you so much of satisfaction. And I think that is the best way you can cope with your own issues, own problems, because when you are focusing on someone else and trying to help them to get out of their problems, actually, there's a lot of research shows it really helps you. And altruism is perhaps not so altruistic after all. I think, it helps you more than the way it helps the other person. That's my own take on it. I think that will be a very handy tip to take to 2021, because you will find a lot of people you can help in 2021. And I hope you can all be that person. I just want to finish with one quote, my favorite quote, all-time quote from Mahatma Gandhi. You be the change you want to see around you in the world. And each one of you, if you want to be the change, what you want to see around you, we would have a beautiful world. We would have a nourishing world. We would have a world where peace, love, and coexistence can flourish. So that's my request to you. Thank you, Julie.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. You've given us some fantastic insights into how to build resilience, some of the assumptions people make about it, the courage you need to look inside yourself and build those layers, and also kind of how to combat when we think we've built it and we slightly get derailed, how to get back on track. So being the change you wish to see is a wonderful message to send to everyone who's joined us here. Thank you for sharing that, Menaca.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Kiruba is waiting to say the vote of thanks. Before that, I just want to announce to everyone that next week there's going to be the overcoming stigma of mental health, because in certain communities than others, we have a big problem with stigma. Because of that, we don't reach out, we don't get help, and we can stop ourselves from overcoming and thriving as individuals, as families, as societies, as communities. So I am very well aware of it, and I have been part of it on both sides. So I know how it feels to be a recipient as well. So that's the reason it's very, very close to my heart. And I think Dr. Anton Bala is there, who is going to be part of the panel for the next time. And so, you know, I would suggest everybody to come and join us and take part on it. And I think you will learn a lot of wisdom from there. And hopefully, as I said, it will help you to go and help others as well to deal with mental health in a positive way. So for people who are on the Zoom platform, please get ready with your questions. And people who are on the Facebook, you can still wait. There's Kiruba is going to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Menaca.
Thank you once again. Thank you for all those viewers on Facebook. Thank you. A happy new year to you. Till we see you next week. Bye-bye. And for Menaca and Julie, thank you for that beautiful, synergizing, perfect. I think it was a lovely flow. And we would like to thank both of you today for Menaca, who shared her heart out, always being very true to herself and sharing. And Julie, thank you once again. We are looking forward to more of you on this platform.
No, it's a pleasure.
And for all those who are new on this platform today, we welcome you once again. And we thank you for your precious time and looking forward to seeing you now for the questions. Now for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiruba. People who are on Facebook, we are about to go on a private chat to the Zoom so that we maintain the privacy of people who want to ask those questions. Thank you so much, Julie, for that, being a host. And without, she didn't have much notice, but as soon as I asked, Julie said, yes, it's a pleasure. I would come and be the host. And, you know, we wish we had more people like that around us. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you. For people who are watching on the Facebook, we will see you same time, same place next week to listen about overcoming mental health stigma. Until then, be safe, be happy, and keep smiling.